were sovereign over this land before there was an England, long before there was a United States. By the 19th century, our independent nation was recognized by the dominant powers of the world. And in 1893, in an act of war, in an armed invasion, and in violation of international law, our nation was taken. And we have been compelled, against our right to self-determination, to become United States citizens.
We are not Americans! We are not Americans! We are not Americans! We will die as Hawaiians! We will never be Americans!
Hawaiian civilization was developed to a very high state because Hawaiians had to live in an island ecosystem and take care of it. They cultivated both dry land and wetland taro, and they literally farmed the seas with fish ponds. Sharing became a mark of civilized behavior because there was so much food available. If you live in a relatively small environment, you develop an economy of agriculture, an economy of fishing, an economy of sailing, of harvesting the upland. You have no alternative. In order to feed a large population, you must economize.
Because the society was so well organized, people only had to put 4 hours a day into food production. They had a lot of leisure time. And some of the leisure time they used to create great works of art. The greatest chanting and hula that we see, wonderful surfing contests, wonderful feats of physical prowess.
Sleek, streamlined canoes with which Hawaiians made these long voyages from hemisphere to hemisphere.
I wouldn't want to say to you it was a perfect life, but it was one that we understood and that we enjoyed.
Into the relative bliss of ancient Hawaiian society comes the British. And when they enter Hawaii, the Hawaiians are astounded.
They are white men with loose skins, angular heads.
The British, for their part, see the Hawaiians and are also astounded.
These are certainly the most industrious people I ever saw. They have brought their agriculture to an incredible degree of perfection.
The utmost attention to cleanliness prevails.
They are fair and honest in all their intercourse.
So, when Captain Cook arrived in 1778 on his two ships, the Resolution and Discovery, he realized he'd come upon a remarkably robust, healthy, and flourishing people.
These chiefs were men of strong and well-proportioned bodies, and of countenances remarkably pleasing.
And of course, Captain Cook was well aware that his men carried infectious diseases.
The diseases that the British left, tuberculosis, syphilis, gonorrhea, lasted for decades and visited upon the Hawaiian people, a scourge that they never recovered from.
The dead fell like dried kukui twigs tossed down by the wind. 100 were stricken in a day. Scarcely 1 out of 10 lived.
The effect on the population was collapse. Not a population decline, but a population collapse. That collapse makes it impossible to reconcile your spiritual world or your political world or your economic world. Everything is chaotic.
All of these things have led to changes in the air which we breathe, the coming of things which weaken the body, changes in plant life, changes in religion, changes in the art of healing, and changes in the laws by which the land is governed.
Calvinists. Let's look at Calvinists a little bit. Of all all the religions that came into the Pacific and all the missionaries that came, Calvinists were probably the worst. Coming out of New England, which is a very cold place where people have very severe attitudes towards one another, these Calvinists didn't like dancing in any form. They didn't like European dancing. They thought it was a terrible thing. They didn't allow dancing. They didn't celebrate Christmas. They didn't celebrate birthdays. They didn't celebrate any aspect of life. They were very somber.
The appearance of destitution, degradation, and barbarism among the chattering and almost naked savages was appalling. Can these be human beings?
Do they not form a link in creation, connecting man with the brute?
Well, their goal was to civilize us, to bring us out of barbarism and paganism up to a level of civilization as they saw it.
And they want to institute a New England